Hello and welcome to the Jacob and Coffee Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about all things real estate over a great cup of coffee. I'm your host today, Jacob Schuler, and today we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. Now, you may think, what does imposter syndrome have to do with real estate? Well, really, this syndrome or phenomenon can happen in all areas of life, but today I want to talk a little bit about how it pertains to real estate at many levels. For instance, you may be an agent, a new agent. You may be a new investor. You may be a home buyer, a new home buyer. This syndrome can creep in and kind of mess with you at any point in these different processes. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about a new agent. Many of you know, as I've just kind of tried to document how things are going in this career for me. New agent imposter syndrome is very real. It's something that that really, I wouldn't say attacks you, but I'm sure some people would say it attacks you. But you begin fooling yourself into thinking, do I even belong here? What am I doing? Can I actually succeed at this? Like I said, it attacks us in various stages of life. The first time I actually heard about it was I was teaching myself how to program. And that word was used a lot, imposter syndrome, or those words were used a lot, imposter syndrome. So, and it really boiled down to, you are learning something and you're getting better at it, but you don't feel like you are. You feel like you just don't belong. So something that I'll share with you as I've started just trying to explore every avenue I can in real estate, trying to find out what works for me as a new agent. And I know I've shared it before. I'm not from this area that I'm working in, so I don't have a sphere of influence in this area. Everything that I'm doing up here, completely new contacts. So my approach to real estate and somebody else's approach, for instance, my principal broker is from this area. There's another agent that I'm working closely with that is from this area, has been their entire lives. So my approach to this career and their approach to this career is going to be very different. My principal broker said just the other day in a sales meeting that she doesn't use any kind of lead source because she just has so much referral business that keeps her busy. Me, on the other hand, I'm using lead sources to try to get my feet in the water, right? To try to get some traction going. So I'm exploring these things, and as I get into these things, sometimes I think, what am I doing? Is this something that I can actually do? But then I think, okay, I taught myself, and I say this to encourage you. Well, hold on, before I get into this, let me also say the same is true for investing. If you're a new investor, you think this is hard, and I've never been able to do something like this before. Buying a property as your personal home is daunting enough, but buying a property as an investment, that's a whole other ball game. And you may be thinking, as you're crunching numbers, as you're trying to make sense of a deal, you may be thinking, is this even for me? Can I actually do this? And then home buying for your those who are first-time home buyers, you may get into the process and realize, wow, this is a big commitment. Is this something that I actually want to go through with? And I have seen this. New home buyers would go get pre-approval for a loan, and they would continue with that loan approval process. They would be working with an agent, look at a couple houses, come to make the offer, and then they really begin to think, wow, this is big. And that some of that imposter syndrome kind of comes in. They're more comfortable renting and questioning the fact of whether they could be a homeowner or not. And maybe not all of it is imposter syndrome per se, because I think there's a lot of overlapping with imposter syndrome and just comfort zones in general. But as far as not thinking you can do something is, you're dooming yourself from the beginning. And I tell my wife, I tell my kids all the time, I hate the word can't. Can't should not be a word in anybody's vocabulary. I think about when I come up against situations that are more difficult than I may have anticipated. I look back at something that I have accomplished and try to use that for a source of of encouragement. And I hesitate to use the word motivation. I wouldn't necessarily say motivation, but encouragement is more the word I'm looking for. And the reason I'll get to the motivation reason in a second. But I look for some encouragement in some past successes, not to just stay in the past and only look at past accomplishments, because I am looking forward. But sometimes you have to draw some encouragement from things that have happened before that allow you to press forward. For instance, for those of you who know me personally, you know that I play music. I've been playing guitar for, it's a little over 25 years now. And not just like play guitar, but I've seriously dedicated a lot of hours to playing guitar, and have played a lot around the country, and have got to play. I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm a professional musician by any means, but I've got to play at a lot of different festivals and concerts, and I've really enjoyed it. But I was completely self-taught. I say self-taught. If somebody was doing something that I wanted to know how to do, I'd ask them how they did it. But I never had any formal training, never took any paid lessons or anything. I just gathered what I could from where I could. And it was before my formative years was really before YouTube was a thing. Looking up YouTube videos was a thing. So I was just that generation right before where I was still listening to CDs, and iTunes had just become popular when I was really getting heavy into it. So listening to MP3s and CDs, just trying to listen to everything I could, I have really taught myself and to learn how to play the guitar and other instruments. I play several different instruments from just learning how to do it, getting down and teaching myself. So thinking when I come up against something new, and I think, I don't think I can do this, I have got to look back and think, now listen, you have done this that most people won't do. So surely you can do this. And I try to draw some fresh inspiration and encouragement. And the reason, I said earlier, the reason I hesitated to say motivation was because motivation comes after the action. You don't get motivated and then do something. It's kind of counterintuitive. It doesn't seem like it works that way. Motivation comes, and I'll say this, my motivation to play music did not come first. After I learned some things and was able to piece things together, and I was able to see how things worked, and like light bulbs were going off in my head because I was figuring things out, that's when motivation came for me. So I've kind of shot all over the place in this, and maybe it wasn't as focused on imposter syndrome as I had hoped it would be, but I'm just talking to you from maybe something I've been going through a little bit. I know I told you guys my goal of trying to close a transaction in 60 days. Well, here we are. It's way past 60 days for me. Still don't have anything under contract. Been working with a lot of people, really just trying to feel it out, figure out the business. And everyone's harder on themselves than they are on other people. So I get hard on myself. And I'm just sharing it with you. I get hard on myself and thinking that maybe I'm doing something wrong. And hey, maybe I am. Maybe there's something I could do better. But I'm always looking at how to do something better. I'm always looking for the better way. But getting discouraged or feeling any kind of imposter syndrome is not something to cave to. It's not something that you need to think about for very long and to just let that set you back. But let it be a challenge to you to do better. Not even to do better, but to keep trying, because I'm going back to music again. For those, I'm sorry if I seem so old hat or maybe one dimensional, but I'm going back to music again. And I used to tell people when people would ask me, "Hey, how do you do that?" I would joke and say, "Well, I learned how Thomas Edison did. I learned 10,000 ways how not to play." And maybe that's just the approach that you're going to have to take. For me, as a new agent, maybe I'm just going to have to learn 10,000 ways how not to sell a house, right? Maybe I'm going to learn a new investor. Maybe you're going to have to learn 10,000 ways how not to analyze a deal. And will that bring you heartache? Sure. I mean, maybe, but you are going to learn from everything that you do. And I know that, I know, sometimes it's easier to learn from your mistakes and your setbacks than it is to learn from your successes. First-time home buyer. Man, I hope it doesn't take you 10,000 ways how not to buy a house that way, but maybe you're feeling some kind of discouragement as a first-time home buyer, or even a new homeowner that maybe you didn't think you were going to feel. Hang in there, okay? You've got to hang in there and keep your head up. Keep chugging away and doing the things you know how to do. Establish processes, put systems in place that work for you. I don't know the author. I'm not. This is a personal endorsement for the book because I just finished it and it's a great book and it's going to be one of those yearly reads for me. But the book Atomic Habits. If you haven't read that book, read it. At least get the audiobook and listen to it. It will help you. It'll help you put processes in place that I think would change your life. So keep your head up. If you're being discouraged with anything right now, wherever you are in life, you may not even have anything to do with real estate right now. You may not care about real estate. But if you're listening to this, if you found this podcast and you're listening to this episode, my voice right now, keep your chin up, okay? You matter. And you're doing a great job, and I want to encourage everyone to just keep pressing forward because better days are coming. And it's not just some kind of external force that, or something that is not external force. What is the word I'm looking for? It's not just some happenstance that makes better. Better starts with you. You can decide today, choose today to live in today and press forward to the future. Don't live in the past. Don't live off of past successes or past failures. Live in today. Do better in yourself. Make yourself better by analyzing everything and just trying to press forward and just keep doing what you can to the best of your ability. That's all anyone can ask for. If you do that, I promise you're going to find yourself better tomorrow than you were today, and so on and so on and so forth. So I hope this was an encouragement to you. I appreciate everyone who listens to this, everyone who watches this on YouTube. Do me a favor, tell your friends about this podcast. Subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, also YouTube. I want you to subscribe, hit that notification bell, that like button helps me out tremendously, and just tell everyone you know to listen to this podcast. Maybe they'll get little tips of how to navigate something they're looking into in real estate. Maybe talk a little bit about coffee. Leave comments. I want feedback. Appreciate each one of you again for listening, and I hope that you all have a great day. But until the next time, continue to live life one cup at a time.